Becoming a thought leader is not about becoming famous. It's about becoming foundational. It's not about having followers. It's about being followed for the right reasons, not for noise, not for trends, but for truth. Because in a world full of opinions, a thought leader is not just another voice, they are the voice of clarity. They don't speak to be seen, they speak to awaken, to build, to shape, to disrupt what's shallow, to deepen what's real. And the first principle? Earn the right to speak. Not by shouting louder, not by copying louder voices, not by mimicking what's popular, but by living what you teach, by becoming the message before you ever publish it. Because if your words don't echo your habits, the world will smell it. If your ideas don't flow from your integrity, your voice will feel hollow. And you may impress people for a while, but you'll never influence them. Because influence is not built in one post, it's built in patterns. In the silent, private, unglamorous choices no one claps for. That's where your credibility grows. That's where thought leadership begins. And it starts with one decision. You stop reacting to culture and you start shaping it. You stop being a consumer of noise and you become a creator of meaning. You don't chase relevance. You stand in resonance. You speak what matters, even when it's not popular, even when it's misunderstood. Because you're not leading to win a moment. You're leading to build momentum for people, for principles, for purpose. You want to be a thought leader? You must think in seasons, not seconds. In decades, not days. You must be willing to be early and endure the silence before the echo comes. That means clarity is everything. A thought leader is not someone who has something to say. It's someone who has something worth saying and knows exactly why it matters. Vague voices fade, but a clear message cuts through time, through noise, through resistance, because truth doesn't expire and truth doesn't beg to be liked. So become obsessed with clarity. Speak less, say more. Cut the fluff, cut the filler, cut the borrowed brilliance. Say what only you can say, in the way only you can say it. Thought leadership is not about knowing more. It's about owning your voice. It's about choosing your lens. Because when you stop trying to be the answer to everything, you finally become the authority in something. And in that something, you plant your flag. You go deep. You take people with you. Because the world doesn't need another echo, it needs a frequency. And your frequency only comes when you stop being agreeable and start being authentic. You want to become a thought leader? Then say something that actually cost you something. Say something that's rooted in your scars, not your strategy. Say something you've wrestled with, bled for, sacrificed for, and now carry not as a theory, but as a truth. That's what people follow. That's what people feel. Not clever, not clean, but real. Because real thought leadership isn't safe. It's not sanitized for social media. It's not dipped in neutrality just to keep everyone comfortable. It's dangerous, not because it attacks, but because it awakens. And the moment you speak something true enough to wake someone up, you become a threat to the status quo. And you have to be okay with that. Because if your goal is to be liked, you'll never say anything that matters. But if your goal is to be useful, if your goal is to liberate people from confusion, from limitation, from mediocrity, then you'll speak what needs to be said, not what's expected. And when you do, when you finally speak from truth, not tactics, you'll notice something shift. You'll no longer be trying to grow your audience. You'll be growing a tribe of trust. People who don't follow you because you're polished, they follow you because you mirror their calling. Because your courage gives them permission to stop hiding. Because your clarity silences their doubt. That's when you become more than a content creator. That's when you become a catalyst. But don't get it twisted, this takes courage. The kind of courage most never practice. The courage to be misunderstood. The courage to be early. The courage to stand alone, not forever, but long enough to prove what others couldn't see. And courage doesn't mean recklessness. It doesn't mean shouting everything that crosses your mind. It means you filter your words through purpose. You don't speak for reaction, you speak for realignment. And that takes maturity. That takes discernment. That takes restraint. Because the deeper your voice goes, the more weight it carries. And when your words start to move people, shape thinking, drive behavior, you are no longer just expressing, you are entrusting. You are putting ideas into people's hands, hearts, and homes. That is not a role you take lightly. That is not something you do for likes. That is leadership. And leadership requires character. You want to be a thought leader? Then build a life that can carry the weight of influence. Build a rhythm that protects your voice. Build a mind that can think deeply. Build a heart that won't be hijacked by comparison, criticism, or clout. Because the more visible you become, the more disciplined you must be. Because popularity fades, but principle endures. And in the end, it's not the loudest voice that shapes the world. It's the most anchored. The one that does not flinch when trends shift. The one that does not bend under pressure. The one that rises consistently with conviction. Because true thought leaders don't chase the moment, they build movements. They don't need a viral post. They create generational ripple effects because their ideas are built on truth, not tactics. And how do you build that kind of voice? You become a student of your own message. You study what you teach. You practice what you preach. You master your craft before you multiply your platform. Because reach without roots is collapse waiting to happen. And too many people want to be heard without first becoming deep. They want to teach before they've become. They want to lead before they've lived. But your message only has power when it's earned through repetition, reflection, and refinement. A thought leader does not speak to be clever, they speak to be clear. They strip away everything that sounds good until what's left is what's true. And then they say it not once, but over and over, until the idea becomes part of the world's new vocabulary. Because the goal is not to impress people with your voice. It's to upgrade the conversation. And if you want to lead that conversation, you must know how to sit in silence, to think, to observe, to refine. That's what most won't do. They post, they publish, they press go on everything. But you sit with it. You wait. You test your idea against resistance, against time, against contradiction. And then, when the words emerge, they are solid, they are sharp, they are seasoned. And when people hear them, they change. That is the difference between noise and voice. Noise is reactive. Voice is intentional. Noise grabs attention. Voice gives direction. Noise fades. Voice forms. But don't walk this alone. Every great thought leader was once mentored, was once sharpened by someone else's insight. Don't let your ego isolate you. Seek wisdom. Sit at the feet of those who've already walked the path. Read their books, listen to their stories, study their failures, learn their rhythm. And then, don't copy them, carry what's useful, discard what's not, and craft what is uniquely yours. Because this journey isn't about being the next insert name here. It's about becoming the first and only you. That's what the world needs. A voice that cannot be replicated. Because it was forged, not fabricated, developed, not downloaded. Then here it comes, the final surge. The fire that doesn't just inspire, but awakens. The moment where your voice becomes more than expression. It becomes legacy. Because a true thought leader doesn't measure their impact by likes, views, or applause. They measure it by echoes. By the shifts they create in people who never even knew their name. By the new questions they plant in the hearts of the next generation. By the ripple that starts as a whisper and becomes a wave long after they're gone. You don't lead thought just to be relevant. You lead thought to rebuild reality. You take what's broken in culture and systems and mindset and you offer a better frame, a clearer path, a deeper question. And if you do it well, you won't just inform people, you will form them. You won't just be followed, you will be felt. In boardrooms, in classrooms, in quiet moments where someone faces a hard decision and hears your words guiding them toward truth. But none of that happens by accident. You must choose to become this. You must commit to the slow burn, to the deep work, to becoming the kind of person who doesn't just say important things but lives a life that backs them every day, especially when it's hard. especially when it's quiet, especially when no one's watching. Because influence without character is dangerous. But influence built on truth, on service, on substance, that kind of influence doesn't just touch lives, it multiplies them. And when your voice becomes a mirror that reflects people's potential back to them, when your presence becomes a reminder of who they're called to be, you're no longer just a thought leader. You're a pathfinder, a builder of new worlds, a carrier of light. So speak with purpose, write with clarity, think with depth, share with courage, live with discipline, and build a voice that outlives you. That becomes a blueprint for those who come after. That becomes a light in times you'll never see. That becomes a legacy of thought, because you were bold enough to not just join the conversation, but to elevate it. That is what it means to lead with thought. That is what it means to lead with soul. That is what it means to be unforgettable.